Hello, my name is Teresa Erbrick and I'm the math coach at Bryan Elementary, and here is our presentation.
I'm Kimberly Jones and I teach kindergarten at Bryan Elementary.
I'm Destiny Jordan and I'm the special education teacher for grades K through 2.
My name is Jennifer Murphy and I'm the second grade teacher here at Bryan Elementary. And we would like to take you on a journey through our school-wide plans to move all of our students' math abilities, which leads us to the purpose of our research. The purpose of our research is to find specific causes, identify any form of problem that is fixable in our math data. Our math data scores have been consistently decreasing, but not increasing where we want them to. Our middle students are staying in the middle and we want to improve that. We want them to reach their highest potential. We know that research drives what we do. And so this project has allowed us to look at a lot of research to help teachers become more explicit in their instruction in the classroom and to help them engage their students in reaching their potential and their highest abilities. We are doing all of this, not just to improve our data, but also to show our stakeholders that we really value having their students and that we really want the best for our students here at Bryan Elementary. Speaking of Bryan Elementary, we are located in northern Jefferson County, just north of Birmingham, Alabama. We are a combination of two growing communities, Morris and Kimberly. We are a non-Title I school, which serves approximately 752 students. So we have very few reduced and free lunches, but all of our students, no matter where they come from, have all kinds of math potential, and this program is going to help us unlock it.
So looking back at DeForest's quote, our cohort realized that it was directly affecting everything we do at Bryan Elementary in conjunction to this research project. Our problem here at Bryan Elementary is that the standardized achievement testing has not been a true scoring of students due to the fact that in the past 5 years, our students have had 3 different standardized testing and none have truly aligned to the standards that are actually being taught in our classrooms. Students also are being swapped from traditional paper and pencil testing to computerized testing, and it is not a learned process just yet. Research also shows that there is a difference in scores between the paper pencil testing as well as the computerized testing.
The next step will be stakeholders. So we have multiple stakeholders. First and foremost, we have our students. We want to take what we're putting into their sweet little brains and we want to raise that bar. We want to move that middle group into a higher achieving group. Not only that, we want to, of course, move that lower group up. We want to make our data soar, and that's something that we're not doing. We don't see that in the data. We also want to, our community and our parents, they're an important stakeholder involved in this building, this community. It's very important that they are a very important stakeholder here. And then also our teachers, our faculty and staff are important stakeholders in this problem because we are vested in it. This is our job. This is our part of the problem. Not part of the problem. We want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. We want to move our children forward. So that brings us to the next step, or step 3, which is our math task force. So in creating a task force, we had to be very deliberate in how we want to create that. So we start, the foundations with our administrators. Then we have our teachers. Together, they are the keys in how we're going to implement these changes. Then we take our students. That's where our data comes from. They supply our data for our instruction and our changes. We have our parents, another part of our stakeholders. They are going to give us the feedback. They're going to give us the support. They're going to help us with our communication and throughout this project to make sure that we're communicating the needs of the students, the community, and the teachers full circle. Then we add the extra element of the math coach. And I'm going to take that data and I'm going to look at it. I'm going and look at it and analyze it and find those gaps and find those holes and find those questions. Where do we need to dive deeper? Where do we need to find it? And after I take all of that and analyze it, I'm going to take a look at those new numbers. I want to prove and show that we are moving our students forward and improving our overall achievement.
So looking at our timeline that we discussed within our group, we in June of 2021, Our math vertical team met to analyze the math data. We determined the gaps in our students' learning, and we brainstormed possible solutions. Then in July, we collaboratively discussed solutions and decided on several that could be implemented to increase the math achievement. When school started in August, we began implementing some of our proposed solutions. In September, surveys and interviews were given, and they were used to obtain feedback regarding these solutions. There are several limitations obstacles that occurred. Time is one of the limitations, and we struggle with finding time to implement these solutions. The district is another limitation. We have to abide by the district's rules, with that we have constraints as far as the parameters of what the district will allow. The third is funding. We have limited funding, of course. We're a public school. Therefore, we have to consider solutions that are within our budget.
Then let's think about the criteria, which is our next step in the process, this research program, the research process. So we want to make sure the two things that we came up with that highly impact whether or not was a proposed solution and moving forward. It needed to impact student learning. It had to involve instruction in our student learning. Secondly, it had to improve our overall achievement. Those were the two big ideas that we all agreed upon, and the task force agreed that were needed to happen to impact our program, our solutions. So that leads us to those proposed solutions. So we're going to talk about some of these in just a minute, but I want to take a second and talk about common assessments, the portfolios, and the PLCs, or the professional learning communities. As we worked our way through this program, all 6 of these were highly talked about, highly discussed with the literature and through each and every class. So we know through what we've read that we need to have engaging activities, and we need to differentiate with the number sense. And again, that'll be addressed in a minute, but we need to have common assessments aligning in our buildings with our children. That's the one way from that math coach perspective that we're going to be able to see what we need to do or where we need to notify those areas of weakness, which leads me into the next step. That's the next part of these math portfolios, because that's a way that we can track a student over time. With the Literacy Act, that we see that those are already getting put into place. So this was something that as a team, we decided with the feedback, and we'll talk in a minute about that, but we that maybe this isn't the right time. And PLCs, we've already talked about before, we know that we need to have professional learning communities, and we need to look at those pillars within professional learning communities. We have to have a clear vision and a clear purpose of what we're doing. And that's another thing that we decided to kind of put on the back burner.
Taking all of that information from the task force and from our stakeholders and even from our students, we use that feedback to break down our process into 2 phases. Phase 1, we decided to focus on the top 3 things that we knew we could implement fairly easily. And then we decided to move the other 3, the remaining 3, into phase 2 for next year.
So the decision that we came up with was to, of course, implement the 3 top solutions this school year. Number sense being the first one, engagement, differentiation, and number sense. We're going to talk about that one first. So research has shown time and time again that number sense routines are essential in building a foundation for mathematical understanding. We are currently implementing number sense routines throughout Bryan, through every grade level. We know that number sense is very important for young children because it promotes confidence and encourages children to be more flexible in their thinking. It helps children form a relationship with numbers and be able to talk about math in comfortable ways. Number sense develops when children make connections with numbers and their own real life experiences. A strong number sense is very crucial for future understanding of more complex math that they will encounter as they go through the grades. So if you look at the slide, I have a video of my kindergarten class. And every day, my students take part in number sense routines that engage them in visualizing ways to see numbers in all sorts of different ways. I would just like to say one more thing. We know that these repeated daily experiences build understanding and fluency with numbers, which will only lead to math improvement and achievement.
Our next area that we focused on is student engagement. We learn from our student and from their feedback that they're not sit and get kind of kids. They like to be engaged in what's going on, and that worksheet some days just don't cut it. Engagement doesn't mean a big room transformation all the time. Engagement just means making sure that every child is seen and every child participates. Every child has a chance to do what they need to do. We're focusing less on memorization and more on applying the skills that we've learned in class. Children will do what we allow them to do. We want to allow them to explore how to apply everything they've learned in new and exciting ways.
Our last step that we focused on was differentiation. The research shows that when we ask our students to do the same learning task all the same way, we have no idea as educators what each individual student is actually capable of doing. So throughout this research, we had to laser focus on differentiation, number sense, as well as engagement. One of the major components for teaching every day is differentiated instruction in our classrooms. Teachers every day are differentiating in their own instruction to meet the needs of the students. The most successful approach that I use for my students might look a little different than a general education classroom that you're used to seeing, due to the fact that my students are taught in small group. Their work reflects the need for extra support, as well as the work is individualized for each student. Ultimately, we as educators want our students here at Bryan to succeed as well as meet all their goals. And the only way that we can ensure that here is to raise our expectations for these students and help our students achieve it. So as you can see, at Bryan, we like to use a variety of formative summative assessments throughout our grade levels here. We continue to add variations to our toolboxes that we have been given as district mandates.
We're going to go through one of the final steps here is adjustment. I'm going to take what we've done with this research, and then we are going to, after we've analyzed the data, we're going through this phase 1 process. We're going to review. We're going to look at it, move it, and then at the end of this school year, we're going to then go back through and we're going to modify anything that we need to. And during that summer break, we're going to create a system to implement phase 2 so that we can move forward. We already have in place that PTA is going to fund anything that we need for funding wise to moving forward. So we already have plans in place. We already have ideas going forward to tackle the funding issues, the district issue, and looking at the time. So we've outlined how we're going to adjust through this plan. This is the overall full steps of the action research that we have. And I think we've given all the information in regarding to where we're at. We also had some references that we are here. And then we also connecting what we've done to the Alabama standards. We did create developmentally appropriate instruction. We did implement things to engage learners. We also identified goals and assessed our organization. We talked about organizational learning. Everyone's implementing those numbers and strategies on lesson plans. The whole building is implementing number sense. So it's not just the pockets of the people that are working on this project. We're doing sweeping change in the building, which is what we need for change within our data and our student achievement. We would like to say thank you, and we appreciate you listening. And Gladwell says, you may not agree with my journey and my adventure, but thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed our ride.